There is no good way to describe Death Stranding without sounding like you're having a stroke. It's not a shooter, it's not a survival game. It's more of a walking simulator with extra steps and around 200 kilos of weight on your back, mixed in with fast forward rain, a wasteland with a baby in a pickle jar crying in Dolby Atmos because invisible ghosts are mad that you didn't hold your breath fast enough. It feels like a fever dream. That's because it is. But not just any fever dream. A fever dream dreamt up by the gaming Jesus himself, Hideo Kojima. At a glance, Death Stranding is ridiculous, and the harder you glance, the more confusing it is. But when Kojima gets a hold of confusion, he makes it into a video game. This isn't the kind of game that fits easily into categories, but it is a rare case of a creator making exactly what he wanted without compromise, and whether you enjoy it or not, you will absolutely remember it. Hideo Kojima is one of the founding fathers of the industry and the creator of the entire stealth genre as a whole. The creation of Metal Gear and Metal Gear Solid franchises brought gaming to a new level, mixing an intriguing story with new and innovative form of interaction. Metal Gear was Kojima's brainchild and biggest hit, with games like Snake Eater and Rising Revengeance being examples of Kojima's innovation and will to move the genre forward. But he's always been known to be somewhat of an eccentric guy, and Death Stranding is his attempt at hitting it big once more. The premise sounds like Mad Libs during a depressive episode. The world ended in a supernatural catastrophe called the Death Stranding, where the line between the living and the dead had a Fortnite crossover. Ghosts now roam the earth as EBTs, or beach things, pulling people into tar pits and causing nuclear-level explosions called voidouts when they consume human corpses. Timefall is a kind of rain that accelerates time, constantly erodes the landscape and anything it touches. America is shattered, and civilization hides in underground bunkers, terrified of the sky and the dead. You play as Sam Porter Bridges, a delivery man with a phobia of touch who is tasked with reconnecting the country. Literally. By walking from the east coast to the west and uploading bunkers into a ghost internet network powered by dead people. And you do it by delivering packages. Lots of packages. Very boring and uninteresting packages. Sometimes sperm cells, sometimes stoves, wine, or charcuterie boards. Whatever it is, there's about 20 different mechanics required to properly deliver it. Death Stranding is a game about walking. You haul cargo, hike over mountains, you slip, trip, and fall. You learn to respect inclines like they're boss fights. Every trek feels like a mini epic. You aren't just pressing forward on the joystick, you're managing weight distribution, checking stamina, deciding whether you want to wade through a river or build a bridge. There's no fast travel early on. You make the journey. You plan your route. You scan the terrain for hazards. If you're going over a steep hill, you better bring a ladder. If you're descending a cliff, better pack an anchor. Everything is deliberate. Everything is work. And for the first few hours, it is very fulfilling work. Work that over time becomes easier. But with that ease becomes a loop of sameness that becomes eventually boring. And the game leans into it with no shame. There's no ironic wink. Kojima really wants you to care about delivery routes, slope gradients, and how many boots you've worn out. What should feel boring somehow becomes hypnotic for a while. There's a rhythm to it, a satisfaction in taming the terrain. And when you finally arrive at your destination, exhausted and mud-soaked, and get a hologram thumbs up from a guy who looks like someone deep-faked Conan O'Brien on a meth addict, it feels earned. But that's another issue the game has. Reward. For the first 11 hours of the game, you get rewards for nearly every trip you make, whether that's a mech suit for your legs, a gun, new shoes, hat, mechanic, or structure. But as you delve further into the game, the less fun it becomes, and the more tedium begins to build. But nonetheless, what's astonishing is how effectively the game uses its systems to create a sense of struggle. And then, slowly, across dozens of hours, gives you the tools to conquer that struggle. You'll start with nothing, just a pair of legs and a backpack that tips over if you breathe too hard. But eventually you'll build infrastructure, roads, zip lines, bridges, power stations, and safe houses, most of which you can leave behind for other players to use and vice versa. This is the secret weapon of Death Stranding, this brand new type of multiplayer. You've never seen another player directly, but their footprints, their ladders, their structures, they all show up in your world. You can give them likes, leave gear in shared lockers, donate materials to their projects. It's indirect cooperation that somehow feels more meaningful than half the co-op games out there. But when you're halfway up a mountain with no stamina and you spot a zipline left behind by a stranger, that's not just convenient. It's a miracle, a connection. That moment becomes the purest expression of the game's central theme. We survive by helping each other. This is the most redeeming qualities of the game. Is this shared world truly feels shared, and unlike some other games, the reason fits with the story. Every bridge was built through another player's struggle. But the issue is that eventually other players and these bridges help you skip the game rather than experience it. After your first 15 hours or so of interacting with these unique and truly awe-inspiring mechanics, you eventually prefer to skip them. Why encounter BTs when I can just run over them on a player-built highway, or go around a mountain using bridges and zip lines? And that's the point. Death Stranding isn't about action, it's about empathy. It's about building bridges. Literal, metaphorical, digital. The gameplay, the story, the world, everything is designed to reinforce this idea of connection, not as a gimmick, but as the core. This isn't a game that wants you to destroy, it wants you to build. But the game's denial of action can sometimes become its greatest weakness. That said, the game does have combat. Eventually. Around 10 hours in. And yes, that's not an exaggeration. Eventually you'll start running into your enemies. There are two main threats. Mules and BTs. Mules are former delivery guys who've lost their minds and now worship cargo like it's the Ark of the Covenant. They'll knock you out, steal your stuff, and dump you in a ditch. They're more annoying than terrifying, but later in the game they do get lethal weapons, and stealth becomes important. Or you can just run over them with a truck. The stealth is serviceable, clearly inspired by Kojima's Metal Gear days, but it's nowhere near as refined or central as it was in those games, and for the first few encounters with the mules and even later on, it is jarring just how lacking of a threat the game really is. Mules can be strung up or spammed with a square button until they're stunned into oblivion.
Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out!
BTs, on the other hand, are a whole different story. These ghostly, floating entities patrol the world's most haunted areas, mostly in timefall zones, marked by beeping noises and an upside-down rainbow. Your pickle baby, BB, helps you spot them via a shoulder-mounted sensor that spins and points towards danger. You have to hold your breath, crouch, move slowly, and avoid making noise. Getting caught results in a grotesque tar pit, dragging you into a mini-boss encounter with some hellbeast whale or tentacle lion that you can either fight or flee. It's tense, it's creepy, and it never stops being stressful, until it does. For a while, BTs are really interesting encounters with unique stealth mechanics that require lots of thought and are usually not pushed away or made ultra tedious by the game's balancing and traversal mechanics. Eventually, though, you unlock weapons made from your bodily fluids. Blood grenades, pee grenades, poop grenades. Not joking. Kojima actually implemented a combat system where you weaponize your own excretions against ghost monsters. It sounds like something a Rockstar dev would come up for Bully 2, and maybe it is, but somehow it fits. Because everything in this game is about what you carry, physically, emotionally, biologically. Even your waste has value. Nothing is thrown away. Nothing is pointless. The story is in typical Kojima fashion, both brilliant and bananas. Sam isn't just a courier, he's the estranged brother of the President of the United States of America, and she's dying. His mission? Reconnect the country and find a woman named Amelie, who may or may not be the next extinction event in human form. You're guided by characters with names like Deadman, Heartman, Diehardman, and Fragile. They monologue about death, love, connection, extinction, and the soul, often for super extended lengths of time, eyes locked on you in pristine mocap as thunder rumbles outside. And somehow, beneath the ridiculous names and overwrought exposition, there is a real feeling, at least until the dialogue gets in the way. And yes, this game shares a lot with Silent Hill in its poor dialogue and long cutscenes. Characters will rant for sometimes more than 10 minutes through cringeworthy dialogue, and often characters you have no reason to care about. Sam starts off numb and unwilling to connect. He avoids touch, sees himself as a mule, a pack animal. But through the game, he changes, opens up. He takes responsibility. The bonds he forms with BB, fragile, with the people he helps but never meets, become the emotional spine of the narrative. There's a moment late in the game where he's forced to choose between continuing his mission or risking the entire world just to save one life. And the game doesn't just shame him for choosing love over duty, it celebrates it. It says, even at the end of the world, what matters is connection. But throughout my playthrough, I had one overlying issue: the lack of sensibility. Characters like Higgs, who are literally the main villain, feel like they don't make any sense. Him and Fragile, though both very important, often feel like they are using their strength only when it matters. Higgs is literally capable of summoning BTs and teleporting, or sniffing you to figure out information, yet he never tries to kill you. He just sends his ghostly goons at you, then runs away. Many characters are there simply to tell you stuff: Mama, Deadman, Diehardman, etc. Despite their phenomenal acting, all feel very ranty. Every time you encounter a copy pasted delivery site, you get a monologue about a new mechanic or about the lore of the world. And from the perspective of our character Sam, this is all even weirder. Kojima overwhelms you with dialogue and lore that has no context to you and is often very difficult to piece together. Since our character already knows what's happening, it makes us feel very out of place. Additionally, our character Sam is sometimes a douche and other times a wholesome dude. One moment he's making fun of his mom who's on her deathbed, and another moment he's crying because a BB is sad and he's nervous. It also seems like Kojima didn't know whether the character should be silent or not. Sam will sometimes never speak, even when being monologued to like Perry the Platypus. But other times he responds to every sentence. Also, randomly when you are running around the world, he'll just start yelling random sentences and stuff that never matters. This indecisiveness from Kojima really made you seem separate from the world when trying to understand this complicated story, which really makes the game feel even more tedious. Visually, the game is a stunner. Built in the Decima engine, the same as Horizon Zero Dawn, it renders Icelandic apocalypse with terrifying fidelity. The landscapes are wide open, but oppressive, beautiful, but barren. Mountains tower over you, rivers carve valleys. The sky is constantly threatening to age you out of existence. It is one of the loneliest worlds ever rendered in a video game, but it's also one of the most immersive. The sound design is equally stellar. Every shift in the wind, every squelch of mud, every BT groan in resistance. It all sells the isolation. The soundtrack, mostly ambient and licensed tracks by Low Roar, is used sparingly but surgically. It doesn't just play during cutscenes, it fades in as you walk, as you crest a ridge, as you arrive. And every time it hits, no dramatic stings, no forced emotion, just a gentle acknowledgement that you made it. It is really an amazing soundtrack, but unfortunately plagued by Kojima's love for copyright and apparent hatred for YouTubers and streamers. Now let's talk about pacing, or rather, the slowness of everything. Death Stranding is a 50-hour game with maybe 10 hours of action. The rest is walking, waiting, balancing, managing, and occasionally waiting 10 to 30-minute cutscenes about quantum soul particles. Some players will find it tedious, others will find it transcendent. It demands patience, it offers reward, but only if you value process over payoff. And yet the game isn't immune to criticism. The menus are clunky, the UI feels like it was designed by 3 separate teams who never met. Inventory management becomes a chore by mid-game. The repetition of some deliveries can grind. Some story beats go full anime monologue and overstay their welcome. And while the ending is powerful, it's also dragged out across hours of twists and epilogues that could have used an editor with a stun baton. Still, for every bloated scene, there's a moment of genius, a quiet connection, a player built road that saves your life, a moment with BB, a song, a sunrise. That's the beauty of it. It isn't always fun, but it's always something, always trying, always meaning more than it shows. Death Stranding is not for everyone, and it doesn't want to be. It's weird, long, overly emotional, mechanical, and spiritual all at once. It dares to believe that a game about delivering packages can be profound, and somehow it pulls it off. Kojima didn't just make the game, he made a statement about labor, about what it means to help others when no one is watching. In a medium obsessed with speed and spectacle, Death Stranding says slow down, walk, carry the weight. Someone's counting on you, even if you've never met them. And in the end, that's what makes it unforgettable. But I do hope that with the sequel coming out in a few days, Kojima realizes that he can take the already refined package delivering mechanics and mix in some fun and over the top action that makes Metal Gear the hit it was. I hope he fixes the menus, spreads out the dialogue, and realizes that just because the shooter and action genre is overdone doesn't mean that its core entertainment value must be completely removed. Despite its issues, Death Stranding is a beautiful game with an even more beautiful story. It's not afraid to stray away from norms, and I like it a lot for that, but I don't love it for the lack of want to speed things up or help you understand. I have a real love-hate relationship with the game, but in the end, I enjoyed it. I give Death Stranding one monster energy out of one fragile, but I'm not so fragile.